Hi Virgo, welcome to 8 of Cups Tarot. Welcome to your cards for November. I'm so excited to tell you guys, although I don't think that Virgo's necessarily had a couple of rough months. I remember from the readings that although a lot of the collective were kind of going through some rather negative or heavy experiences, Virgo seemed to lighten up a little bit in these past couple of readings, stepping into a more solid form of success, stepping into better relationships. And I have to say I was a little surprised to get these cards today. Now, some of the things that are going on early in the month, and actually it's on the last day of October the 31st, we have a full moon conjunct Uranus. And this is in your 9th house, which is a pretty cerebral house. And there's a lot of stuff going on in your 3rd house as well. We have the sun going through Scorpio. Mercury, once it starts to move direct, and the first week will start to make its way back into Scorpio in your 3rd house. And I see an element of having to have some real honest conversations, and this might be a time where not only are you getting honest with other people in your life, but it might be a time when you're starting to really get honest with yourself. Now, we do have Venus moving through Libra in your 2nd house. You might spend a little bit of time this month kind of focused more on finances. If it's not on finances, it's about your self-worth, your power. And as well, we also have Neptune moving direct, which is in your 7th house, meaning that Neptune moving direct, you kind of have to see things for what they are, you know. It's kind of like there's a shield over our reality, and then Neptune starts to move direct. It makes this gigantic shift, and because it's such a slow moving transit, you know, it remains in the same house for upwards of 12 to 14 years. And so these are long-term changes. And I think what's happening with Virgo as Neptune starts to make its way through the 3rd decan is that there's a strengthening and a disillusionment at the same time. You might be a feeling like you have to take off the rose-colored glasses and kind of deal with reality at this time. That's not to say this is going to be forever. However, Neptune can also be a softening, a form of compassion for those that we're connected to, a nurturing and a ability to find deep forgiveness and acceptance, and there's an ability to surrender. And the thing is, with this 9th house transit with Uranus, Virgo might get checked a little this month as far as, you know, any way in which we pass judgment. And it's not just judging other people. It could also be the way that we judge ourselves. You know, there's always that ultimate search for perfection for Virgo. There's a need to kind of be everything you could be for everyone. And I think Uranus comes around in your 9th house, and Uranus is known to kind of set you free. There's a revolution. And I think my Virgos are kind of going through this revolution of, wait a second, life doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't always have to be so hard. And there's a sense of being able to focus on you and to take care of yourself. And it might mean having to set boundaries, having to say the things that you haven't wanted to say, having to admit to the things you didn't want to see. Now, I don't want to start this reading off as super negative because it's not, but I do see Virgo having to kind of deal with some stuff this month. Now, the good news is you're coming out as a messenger of air. And this is the element of communication, the element of truth, all of that blue representing the throat chakra. I think this is a healing transformation for you, and I think this month Virgo starts to find their voice. Now, it's not to say that you've been quiet or non-expressive in your needs. This is on a much deeper level. We have Mars finally breaking free and moving direct in the middle of the month. And you'll see there's a big shift in the middle of the month. And that 8th house means that suddenly you're able to really say those things. You're really able to look at those deep fears, those deep wounds, you know, where we look at life and we say, well, I don't want to talk about that because it's kind of like opening Pandora's box. And somehow in the middle of the month, Virgo starts to realize that Pandora's box has to be opened. In order for there to be growth, in order for there to be movement in life, you have to face some stuff. Now, the first couple of cards out are the 3 of Pentacles and the Sun. This tells me, Virgo, that you are probably super focused on gaining some form of emotional freedom. 3 of Pentacles could be where you're building towards, you know, these goals, building towards your future, investing in yourself. Investing in your future happiness, the Sun. But I'm also realizing the contrast between the Sun and the 3 of Pentacles. Here, there's sort of a giving of energy to multiple things, right? And the Sun is kind of standing on its own. And I don't know if maybe, Virgo, you're feeling a little bit on your own this month, meaning that you probably want to build and connect with others, to collaborate. And yet there's a sense of needing to protect yourself. Overall energy on this side of the board is the 9 of Wands and the Page of Cups. And this is kind of self-protective mode. And the Page of Cups is not truly expressing how you really feel. You know, this could be an immense amount of love for somebody and yet not really feeling comfortable enough to tell them. And the 4 of Swords here is putting you at a distance in solitude. And this is sort of self-inflicted solitude. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is a bad thing. This might be the universe kind of pushing you back into your corner to kind of clean some stuff up mentally in your patterns, in your mind. You might feel the need to kind of retreat from the world. You might feel the need to retreat from other people kind of needing things from you at this time. That's what I see with this 3 of Pentacles here. Now, clarifying this energy, we have the Hermit and the 2 of Cups. Also quite a contrast. Now here we have energy being poured into 2 different things, often symbolizing a relationship or a connection, 2 people pouring equal amounts of energy and love into this relationship, this creative project, this business partnership. And here you have the Hermit, similar to the Sun, reflecting an element of solitude. Now, the Sun card, representative of Leo energy, your heart, your light. And the Hermit card is the card of Virgo. And Virgo can tend to dim their light. And I'm just wondering, Virgo, if you are not purposely dimming your light. in order to kind of not disturb the atmosphere. Because I get the feeling that Virgo is really wanting growth. The Sun card is indicative of wanting freedom, of wanting happiness, of wanting authenticity. The ability to be vulnerable, to be and connect with somebody wholly because you are whole yourself, because you are clear in who you are and what you want. And maybe this is just Virgo wondering why they can't find a connection that's able to reflect this kind of energy back to them. Beneath these two cards is card number 15, Divine Mother Manifests. Now we're looking at a couple different chakras here. I'm definitely getting the solar plexus energy with the card of the Sun, meaning that your intuition, your drive, your ambition towards your future, towards the things that you want in life. And I think the Divine Mother is the opening of the heart chakra. And like I said with this, there's an opening of the throat chakra. So I think there's a balancing out, Virgo, between the alignment of these chakras specifically this month for you. And I don't know why I don't always really hone in on that. But there's a balancing of getting to know your internal self and learning how to be vulnerable enough to express it, and yet emotionally detached enough, messenger of air, to not really give a shit about the outcome, to not really give a shit about what other people think. There seems to be a deep need for expression here. And maybe if you're in a relationship with somebody, you feel like you can't express yourself, or you can't express your love or your passion or your desire. Maybe because of some of the things that they're going through. Maybe you're with somebody who is kind of emotionally detached, kind of pushing you away, keeping you in a mode of solitude and maybe some loneliness. And the thing is, you have the Divine Mother Manifests means that you have a guardian on your side, and that is apparent in a couple different cards here. What you are going through, this solitude, is really beneath the surface a spiritual strengthening of self. It's a checking in and knowing that everything that you need, you already have. Everything that you desire, you can simply give to yourself. Therefore, there is a freedom from needing anyone else to be a certain way, to show up in a certain way for you. Now that might sound harsh, and I don't mean to say that Virgo doesn't deserve a partner to show up for them. That's certainly not what I'm implying here, but there are times, and certainly the times that we're going through now, where other people are going through a great deal of emotional upheaval. A lot of things are coming to the surface in Scorpio season, and people might get a little bit messy. And Virgo is blessed with the ability to hold back judgment, to hold back a need to persecute somebody for their failures, and to kind of tap into that unconditional loving, which truly stems from being able to love yourself and to see yourself in other people even when they are suffering. The Nine of Wands here tells me that there's a good balance between protecting yourself and feeling compassion for others. See, it doesn't mean that you're going to allow anybody else to kind of drag you down into their holes right now, Virgo. And I think that you've come too far and done too much work on yourself to get dragged down into this place again. And this might be a pattern in your life that you feel like you're reliving. Seven of Wands, card number 7. 7 is always a card of the universe kind of pushing you. And the 10 of Wands is certainly an emotional level of a breaking point, of a need to let some stuff go. Seven of Wands can be a place of adjusting the ego. It could be elements of feeling rejected. It could be an element of feeling suspicious, feeling jealous, feeling insecure, unstable. And the 10 of Wands is kind of like carrying the burden for a really long time, waiting for this energy to break. Right? We've all been in this place. In 2020, we've all been here, and especially since kind of July or maybe May, when all of these retrogrades really started to take root, we were all really forced to look at ourselves, to really look at our connections. And 7s are always an opportunity to reprioritize. And 10s mean that there are things that need to be dropped. What I do like is the 7 of Wands with the 4 of Swords. And this tells me that there is a great amount of emotional intelligence going on with my Virgos at this time. That just got so, okay, unfocused. Sorry, guys. The 7 of Wands and the 4 of Swords means that when things trigger you, anytime this month that you feel something really causing you to get uncomfortable, unbalanced. Maybe you're losing your patience. Maybe you're feeling exhausted. Maybe you're feeling like you just don't have the energy to do this anymore. And the 4 of Swords says you know when to retreat, when to pull back your energy. And I like that because looking at the duality between the giving of your energy to other people, your devotion to certain connections and love relationships in your life. Yet Virgo knows when it's time to pull back and kind of reinvest in self. 4 of Swords and the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is a promise of stability. Card of Taurus. Emotional stability. I like that the Hierophant card is here because it's also indicative that there are ancestors, there are people, there are spirits working on your side, kind of protecting you, giving you the strength, giving you the courage. And I see an element here in the Hierophant of kind of the backbone becoming stronger, strengthening your own backbone, strengthening your self-worth, your determination, your value in yourself, which is exactly why you know when it's time to retreat. You know that it's time to let go of things that you cannot change or control. And I also think the 4 of Swords and the Hierophant has a lot to do with surrendering the need to know the outcome. And when we do that, it's much more easier to come into your voice and to speak your truth. And I think this gives you a lot of grace and a lot of dignity this month. Because you recognize that it's not yours to judge, it's not yours to advise, it's not yours to demand or control. Because you can allow things to just be. You can allow people to just be themselves, to react to things the way they choose to react. And it really has no bearing on your strength, on your stability. Now the challenge card is a Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords is when we kind of walk away from the things that aren't serving us anymore. But the Six of Swords is not exactly springing into freedom. It's not breaking away from a bad relationship and feeling relief. Six of Swords is knowing that you need to move to safety. You need to move to calmer waters, gain your emotional bearings. Again, a sense of retreating with this card as well. Retreating to protect yourself, to protect your heart, to protect your emotions. But the pulling away may not be easy. And the Six of Swords can be a lot about being in your head. It could invite in a lot of self-doubt if you allow it. Should I stay? Should I go? Should I push? Should I walk away? But the thing with the Six of Swords is that ultimately it's inevitable. And clarifying that Six of Swords is card number 4, higher power. And I actually want to read this one to you. This might come across because we're dealing with all kinds of different situations. This is just energy, and it could be vice versa. However, I think this might strike you differently for each person. Conscious contact with higher power, the presence of the divine, seeing source energy in all things, committing to a partnership with spirit. This is a lot about that Hierophant card. This is committing to self, committing to your journey, your experience in life. This card reminds you that you are more than a person trying to get ahead and make things happen for yourself and others. You have an immortal soul and are gifted with a human life through which a higher power can express itself. At this time, you need to be conscious of your connection to spirit and foster it through prayer and meditation. Four of Swords is also indicative of needing to kind of go within, the retreat. Ask what is the highest good for all. How can I serve? And then get out your own way and trust that there is a plan for your life more wondrous than you can ever know. You are always protected and divinely directed. And the Six of Swords means that you are capable of going with the flow. And I do believe, Virgo, that you're going to know exactly what this means to you. It's time to address how much effort you give to your relationship with your higher power, called God, Goddess, Spirit, or any other name that is sacred and holy. Recognize that your partnership with Spirit is your number one priority. The appearance of this card also indicates that there is a deep spiritual bond between you and another person who is essential to your growth and evolution. Tend to your spiritual connections and remain aware of your true nature. I see this with that Two of Cups. that there is a divine connection. And maybe you're a Virgo who, again, is listening to this and saying, well, I'm not really with anybody right now. That in and of itself is a pretty powerful journey. When you could finally embrace comfort in the fact that at the end of the day we come here alone, and most likely we leave here alone. And above all else, this higher person, you don't have to necessarily be a religious person. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to do the actual prayers. But the Hierophant coming out next to the higher power tells me that there is something deep inside of you telling you that something needs to be addressed. Something needs to change. Something needs a better foundation in order to grow. And this is where that element of confrontation comes in. You confronting something or someone in your life. Before I get to the advice, I'm going to kind of jump down to the outcome card, which I think might actually symbolize a little bit more of the situation. This may not be for everybody, but ultimately what's happening here is the Six of Wands and the Three of Cups, meaning there is victory and there is celebration, but with it comes this moth spirit. Moth spirit can kind of be an energy of obsession. Now, this could play out in a couple of ways. Sometimes with that the Three of Cups and the Six of Wands, there could be a sense of overindulgence in your life. And maybe it's you, maybe it's the person that you're connected to. And maybe they're going through a little bit of a situation now, maybe with a substance abuse problem, some kind of an addiction, some kind of a mental struggle. It could be, you are having that Mars retrograde through your 8th house. It could be somewhat of a financial issue with you and another person. Maybe you've been working really hard on your foundations, on your financial stability, and yet your partner is kind of spending money on whatever they desire at the moment, because the Six of Wands can often represent instant gratification. And I am also looking at the Three of Pentacles and the Hermit of the Two of Cups. If you were in a situation in which there was a three-party situation, you may have removed yourself from that. And that very situation might have tapped into kind of the shadow side of Virgo, probably a shadow side of you that you don't see very often. And there might be an element of you poking through, or somebody else that feels the need to get attention from others. This energy feels kind of like the need to fill a very deep void in life. A wound that you kind of patch up, like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. And someone may be kind of self-medicating in negative ways. Someone might be self-medicating to kind of heal a wound. Yet the moth spirit means it's not necessarily the greatest thing for you or them. And that there probably needs to be an end to this cycle. The moth spirit card number 39. Breaking down to a 12, breaking down to a 3. 3 of Pentacles. There's a need to surrender control. There's a need to surrender the need to know the outcome. There's a need to let go of how it's going to happen, or preparing for the worst, or being up in your head about it. And I think that this moth spirit energy, this need to surrender, is kind of the medicine for this Three of Pentacles, this scattered energy of all these different things that you're trying to invest in. Because some of them probably aren't healthy. Now, if this is representative of somebody that you've been with for a really long time, again, the element of compassion coming through, the element of allowing something to grow into something stronger. And that Hierophant can also represent an energy of becoming very diligent, becoming very responsible. And let's not forget that we have Saturn and Jupiter joining together in December in the 6th house, and that is your house of health and your house of routines. And this is an area of life that can kind of reflect some negative addictions or negative habits that we have in our life that need to be corrected. And somehow, in some way, the universe is guiding you to kind of resolve this issue. And maybe there's an element here with all of this throat chakra energy that if this is somebody else in your life, this is somebody else kind of stuck in their shadow element, that now is the time that it needs to be confronted. Now is the time that you need to kind of bring it to their attention. Because if you've been in this Four of Swords, there may have been an element of denial. There may have been an element of wanting it to just kind of go away on its own. And yet you get to a point in November where you realize it's not just going to go away on its own. And so the universe gives you a voice. Child of Swords. Gives you an opportunity to speak your truth. It gives you an opportunity to say the things you need to say. And the Child of Swords probably isn't going to hold back. I mean, if you look at a child who wants something, a child that may have been frustrated and unable to properly communicate, suddenly communication can kind of turn into a temper tantrum. Now, I'm not saying that you are necessarily going to have a temper tantrum. In fact, you're coming out as kind of the epitome of graceful this month. But there is room for honesty within your grace. You may have to threaten to walk away from something. You may have to tell somebody that this just isn't the way that you want to spend your life. This isn't the way that you want to operate. What you want is the sun. What you want is freedom, love, kindness, compassion, partnership, connection. To not feel isolated and to not feel pushed away. And the thing is, I think that this voice that you find gives birth to the Ace of Pentacles, which is a new opportunity, a new beginning, a stable, solid offer being made. Devil card, again an element of addictions. Wheel of Fortune, and the Nine of Pentacles. You have the power, you have the ability to make the choice in who you want to be with, what you want to associate with, how you want things to go. You have that within yourself. You do not have it within others. And I really like all of the signs coming through for Virgo that shows me that they're willing to stand on their own. They're willing to be on their own instead of in a painful or unhealthy, toxic relationship. The devil. Or that they're finding strength within themselves to overcome any kind of addiction or toxic habit that's holding them back from an element of success. Now, clarifying that Child of Swords, you have the Queen of Cups. Self-care, Virgo. Self-love, self-care, compassion. Ace of Wands. What you desire, you are attracting to you now. But you have to surrender the fear. You have to surrender the toxicity. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you keep wanting it to work out, there's a tremendous amount of desire. Sex is great, but you don't feel loved or valued. You don't feel the connection. You don't feel the support. You have the strength to walk away from these patterns and these habits this month. And what happens when you start to inhabit this Queen of Cups, ultimate self-love, self-respect, honoring your energy, honoring your emotions, not continuing to pour into other people's cups, not continuing to invest in things that don't give back. And you begin to attract the things that you truly desire and the things that you truly deserve and the things that are a return of your energy. Ace of Wands, Ace of Pentacles. These are lucky breaks. These are opportunities in creative projects. You have a Jupiter-Pluto coming together in your 5th house for the final time. Creativity, happiness, joy, children. But ultimately, the thing that you have to overcome is this desire. And again, this might be an element in you or somebody that you're dealing with. But this is another card of needing and wanting that instant gratification. Knight of Wands can kind of just take what they want. Take what they need, take what they feel is just going to get them through a moment. Knight of Wands isn't always the most compassionate about other people's feelings. It's not always reliable. It's motivated by its desires. And oftentimes this attitude leads to the 3 of Swords energy, which is heartbreak. Wounds that remain unhealed. In this energy can really show the shadow side of ourselves and others. Can really show the parts of us where we're really capable of hurting people that we love. When our needs are not met, when our wounds are not healed, we can do a lot of damage. We could be super attracted to this energy. We could feel the need to heal other people, to run in and save people. But ultimately, you have to save yourself. And you have to clear this out. this need, this desire, this codependency, this any beliefs that you cannot survive without another person. Because you have to be brave enough to walk away from something like this in order for it to change. If you want to leave this energy behind, then you have to truly leave it behind and observe what happens when you walk away. Not from a place of judgment, but from a place of self-protection. And I think this is Virgo no longer sacrificing their heart. The Knight of Wands is not a match for the Queen of Cups. It's not a match, and it will always lead to heartbreak. She is far too compassionate, and he is far too selfish. There's a lacking of maturity, there's a lacking of spiritual evolution, and therefore the vibrations just simply do not match. Now, it is not to say that this cannot be changed. You got the Wheel of Fortune. This situation can be turned around, but it's deeply reliant on your self-protection, on your self-worth, and on you developing the backbone that you need to develop. And undoubtedly, Virgo will gain enough strength this month to say, I'm not going to put up with this, I'm not going to have that. I will be cherished, I will be honored, I will feel loved, or I will walk away. And that's when life can change for you. That's when the universe can start to give you the things that you have been asking for. And I think that it's important that Virgo not pay attention to where and how it happens. Sometimes it's a lot nicer to leave the miracles up to the universe because they do a much better job. All right, Virgo, that was a really powerful reading. Of course, I'll be checking back in mid-month, right around all those major energy shifts. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen from there on out. I do hope you have a wonderful month. If you are still around, hey, please don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. The community is growing, and I am so grateful that I have these opportunities to spend this time with you each month. All right, Virgo, have a great November. I'll see you soon. Bye.